I thought I'd mention Nepal, since we're going to be working with Engineers Without Borders Ireland there. These are the kind of stories that emerged in the media after the earthquakes in 2015, late April and early May 2015. Basically, you know, aid piling up at the airport. The tarmac of the only international airport in the country was being damaged because the planes were coming in too heavy, full of aid. You know, systems have failed. You can't get aid out into the hills, even by yak, because all the roads have collapsed and landslides and so on. 60 to 80% of all of the income that goes into humanitarian relief is spent on buying stuff and moving stuff, depending on the year, depending on where it is. The budget's actually increased since this research was done. The annual aid budget is, I think, around $25 billion a year now, just looking at aid agencies. And one of the defining characteristics of a disaster, in fact, you know, of disasters generally, is severe logistical challenges. But the point is, there are always local capabilities. And so one of the things that Field Ready is trying to do is to line up some of the more high-tech technologies that engineers are used to working with, perhaps in places like Dublin, with some of these severe logistical challenges, so that we can make things locally. And doing things faster, if you can make it locally, you don't need to ship. You don't need to bring it in. You can often be better than the standard aid products because you can customize to the individual, for example, or you can make improvements and spare parts, and you can often be a hell of a lot cheaper because the supply chains are often so expensive. So we're trying to go from the typical aid supply chain, which might look like something like this, to something that looks a bit more like this, and actually manufacturing in communities. And then trying to scale that up, networking together, manufacturing capacity, basically, you know, just creating connections between people, but also sort of sharing design files openly, or you know, other sort of capacity building work, so that we can create what the core of our innovation is, which we call networked local manufacturing. And we're trying to bring this change into the aid sector. It is absolutely crazy that we're shipping stuff around the world into these disaster zones. We're trying to ship stuff into Bangladesh, which is one of the manufacturing hubs of the planet. And it's just because of the heritage that we've had almost ever since the Industrial Revolution, but also because of the way logistics in the aid sector has been built up. And it's actually those bureaucracies can be quite hard to change. The most beneficial areas for local manufacturing are in prototypes, to show people how to make things themselves, repairs, fixes, spare parts that you otherwise can't get, they're unavailable on the market anymore, customized parts to individual people, and also making the molds needed for mass production. These are bars of soap with little animals, toy animals inside them, to encourage children to wash their hands.